Hello, fans of Wacky Wednesday. This is Janet and Jeff again. We're continuing our story of what has happened in the 30 years that we have owned and produced Sweet Tooth Candy and Gifts. I think you know that we are now at 36th and Harvard. It's our last store. And on August 30th, we are closing this store and retiring. So today we wanted to talk a little bit about how we got into the marketing atmosphere of retail and the various high points that we remember from that time. We were in our second store in the Farm Shopping Center, and we had a visit from a person who became a friend. Her name is Heather Riquetto Rumley. And Heather worked for Cox Media. She came to call on us as a sales rep to suggest that we begin doing some advertising on cable TV. She said to us, give yourselves 3 months and you should see improvement in terms of new customers coming into your store. So we agreed to do that, and that sent us off into all kinds of marketing opportunities during the next number of years. We eventually began producing our own videos, our own 30-second commercials, with the help of Lauer Photography, Davis and Diane Ward. And I think Jeff is going to eventually put on this video some links to our favorite commercials, if not all of them. At one point we thought we would have a film festival, a festival showing all our commercials, which would probably take about 5 minutes, and we would have an intermission at 2.5 minutes for refreshments and so on, and then we'd come back and see the last 2.5 minutes.
Maybe we'll still do that sometime.
We might invite everybody who's interested to come and see that. However, if you'll look on the links that Jeff provides for you, you can see some of our commercials.
I'll work on that tonight. We'll have them out.
Most of our commercials, our video commercials on cable TV, we did in our third store, which was at 38th and Harvard. And one of the reasons why we began doing commercials there, not only did we believe in what Heather and other sales reps from Cox told us, but it provided us an atmosphere that none of our other stores have provided us. And that would be filming on the roof of our store.
Oh
so
my.
Now, Jeff is going to tell you some of his favorite experiences producing 30-second commercials on the roof of our store, 38th and Harvard.
Okay, I'll be happy to. I've got to switch our cameras there. There you go.
Okay, now here's Jeff, who was really the star of all of our commercials. So Jeff, what do you think? What do you want to say?
Well, I was the star just because I was the front person. Although it takes a few people to create these things, but
and no one else wanted to do it.
okay, I wasn't going to say that, but yes, no one else wanted to do it.
Yeah.
In fact, a side note: Tulsa People once did a Willy Wonka photo, and I forgot the person's name. I have to go look it up there. Knew that I would be the only one that would wear the costume. So that's how that's how these things happen. There's nobody left.
Well, you were the first and the last.
Yes.
Person to be selected for those important moments.
Yes, and they were too. One of our first ones was kind of cool because it was in our store and we had a chaise lounge.
An outdoor
piece,
yeah,
and a couple of little kids who are now probably, I don't know, they're at least graduated college, I'm sure,
and more, yes,
yeah. And we did a summertime thing, and Sabrina did our voiceover, which she did almost all the voiceovers. No matter if she was in Memphis, where she was for a while, or New Jersey. We would figure out a way for her to do the voiceover.
Yeah, record it. And the one that she did not do, the commercial that she did not do the voiceover was Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And we decided that we really wanted a man's voice for that. And we also put one of our nieces in that commercial with Jeff. And
right.
our friend Carl Kraus, who many know as the star of American Theater Company's Christmas Carol, was the voiceover for that commercial.
And a friend of ours.
And a friend. And, of course, all the rest was Sabrina. So, Jeff, what were some of your favorite moments of those commercials?
Well, I like that first one we did was kind of fun because it was just real light. And then I don't know how we got up on the roof, but we did. And, I mean, how that came about, whose idea it was, I don't know. But as we usually, people were throwing out ideas and we finally settled on one. But I liked that. And we also did a Halloween one with those same kids.
Yes.
Where I wore a big haired wig and a Dracula cape.
And they were dressed in Halloween costumes.
Yes. And we had dry ice in our little boiling pot. And,
yes. And Sabrina was saying, Dad, you're scaring me.
Yes. in her little voice, because she was a little bit younger, and her voice has changed a little bit over the years. But yeah, she was still very good. And then up to some of the other ones like the Superman ad, which we liked a lot. And then the very last one we did was very good, Mad Men.
That was Davis's idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the interesting part, we would, if Sabrina was in town, we would try and set up a studio or something where she could do the voiceover and the producer would sit there. And then also, I was there on this, at least this one time, for the Superman ad. And the Superman, we wanted that staccato. If you've seen any of the Superman shows,
from
TV,
the
very fast paced, yes, it's Superman, that kind of thing. And so Sabrina came in. We did like 7 o'clock in the morning, and Sabrina comes in. And she's holding her little coffee, and she goes in the glass studio, and one of the producers, Diane, and I were outside, and she runs this script, and it's just like we thought, well, how did she get all that out of that? And Diane turns to me and she says, let's just do another one just in case.
Yes, because the first one was so good.
Yeah, I mean, it was just amazing. We probably used the first one, so I don't know. I don't know how she did it, but anyway, she did. Mad Men was a lot of fun. We used a couple friends of a former employee to be in it, and
makeup.
We had makeup.
Costumes.
My hair was black.
Yeah, those were the days, weren't they?
That was yes. That was like what do you call it? Color shampoo or something? No, dry shampoo.
Yes,
that's the word.
Yeah,
and it was just funny. Then when we all went over from the store over to the studio and did some more in front of a green screen. Anyway, when I bring that up, you'll see that and see where those things are.
And what was that thing hanging out of your or that you had in your fingers when your fingers were on the couch? What was that you were holding?
Candy cigarette.
Of course.
Yes.
Sweet tooth. Of course.
Yes, it had to be that.
So now the thing that I think people need to know is that we would often be in stores and people would recognize you.
Mm-hmm.
And they would recognize
it's a curse.
you. It was a curse, but they would recognize you
or it's
because
a gift.
They would say, are you the guy who is on the roof of your store? So that's how we knew that many of our commercials on cable TV were working very well and attracting attention among people who were not necessarily customers but became customers and friends.
Well, to this day, some people still mention it.
Yes. Now, also, you need to shout out to Tulsa People Magazine and Tulsa World, because we did a number of advertising, print advertising in those publications. You want to say a word or two about that?
Yeah, I thought those were excellent ads. This last 3 years or 4 years, we've been using a professional graphics designer. Our ads look great.
Shout out to Megan Garrett.
Megan Garrett, yes. And we had some great sales reps there, and Jim Langdon is the nicest person in the world next to Ed Bashara, who is next to us. Those guys are like ranking in the nicest people in the world.
Right.
And
we had a monthly ad in Tulsa People for years, and also, what was that other
Intermission magazine?
Intermission, if
Yeah.
you remember it. Where was it handed out?
Oh, at the Performing Arts Center.
Yes, it was the.
It was like the program.
The program.
Yeah, they would have an insert which program, and then they'd have for a month the same outside. But that was pretty good for us because that was a captured audience. People get there early, and so they're flipping through the magazine, and there we were.
And there we were. What
Yeah.
about the Tulsa World? Where were most of our
Tulsa
ads?
Worlds was seasonal things, like we would be in their Christmas editions and their Valentine editions and things
And
like
the
that.
Valentines, we always ask them to put it on the sports page.
Yes.
Because no matter what, Valentine's Day is always February 14th, but people, especially men, need a reminder.
Right.
They're last minute shoppers for Valentine's
That was
Day.
actually Janet's idea, and I think it worked well.
It did work well.
I wanted to say one other funny thing about the filming outside. We did it after hours when the sun was right, and this was the Superman one, and I had, I didn't have a crew, but I had a
You
ladder.
were the crew.
I was the crew.
You and your ladder were the crew.
Yeah, but no peeps. And so I had this extension, 16-foot extension ladder that I had to use to get up on the first part of the roof, and then I would pull the ladder up, and then go over to the sign because the sign was about 15 feet above the roof level.
Yes.
So I'd have to use that. So I'm walking down 38th Street to get around to the other side of the store so I can get up. And I remember this car coming by. This was a Sunday afternoon, I think. And this car stopped and then went real slow and was looking because here's Superman carrying this ladder down 38th Street. So I looked at them and I said, "Don't worry, I got it." So they decided everything's okay. They could go ahead and pull off. And then the other interesting thing that turned out in that ad is that we shot the very end of it on the top. We had one of our employees, Amy Dotson. She also got up on the roof, and she was the only one who would do that.
Yes,
also.
she was the only one
She was
willing.
game. Yeah, she was game for all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so she was behind me she had to stand on the ladder with me, pretty high up, and she had this big long pole, and she had an American flag.
Yeah, blowing because that's what Superman stood for.
Right. Truth, justice, and the American way.
Exactly.
And so that was kind of entertaining as also a little tidbit. And then at the very end, you have to wait for it, an eagle comes out of the sun and flies away.
Yes,
He was disguised as a pigeon.
He was disguised as a pigeon,
Yes.
right? Did we audition those pigeons?
Yes.
We did?
Yeah, we did. And it was another thing that other people didn't want to do, but...
Yes.
But-
Pigeons didn't always want to do it, but we got one pigeon.
Yeah, right on cue, right at the end of that.
Right.
It took off. So when you watch that, make sure you pay attention to that part.
Now, in our 30-second ads on cable,
Mm-hmm.
as well as our print ads, particularly in Tulsa People, we used oftentimes staff people who worked at Sweet Tooth and some of our customers.
Yeah, and we used those for the, like you said, for the Tulsa People, so it was once a month. So we had new ones, and we did a campaign at one point that says, "My Happy Place."
Yes.
And we had all kinds of employees, and we had all kinds of other Tulsa leaders and people would come and film there, or just shoot, we take pictures of those, and then that was their happy place. So that was kind of fun.
Okay, and one last thing.
Yes.
When we transitioned from actually filming the 30-second commercials, we went to Facebook interviews that you did with a lot of our vendors.
Yeah, that kind of started with the when the pandemic was here, and so we got this idea, how can we keep things going, and we came up with Zoom interviews with people. Some of them quite hilarious.
Yes.
Not on my part, but quite hilarious, these people. We had one very good customer, Teresa, and
Teresa, last name? Miller.
And
A writer, a great writer,
Oh.
and a great friend.
a great hilarious person.
Yes, she's very hilarious.
And so we came on, it's a blank screen there. And I said, what's going on? She says, oh, I didn't get a chance to do my hair. No one needs to see that. So we just I interviewed a blank screen, although she was behind that. But so
You
that was.
interviewed a blank screen?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I couldn't, we were already doing it. I didn't have anything to put up on it or anything. So.
Oh my goodness.
So she was fine with it. She's very, very, she liked it actually.
Yes, yes. And she once thought she was going to be in theater, so
Yes.
this was a perfect opportunity to kind of audition again as a blank screen.
Yeah, and if you ever get a chance to read some of her books, they're just, they're really hilarious. Marianne Hilly, who was also part of our My Happy Place ads.
Yes.
She has a book, and we have it in our store.
And Connie Crumley.
And Connie, who's pretty darn funny herself.
Yes. And Jeff actually played his accordion to entertain her when she came for a book signing.
Yeah.
So we learned over the 30 years that marketing, particularly as a locally owned store, was very important. And we use local people, local TV station, local publications like the Tulsa World and Tulsa People, because we believe shopping local is very, very important.
That's right. Number
And
one.
we could go on forever on this, but Jeff, I think we better stop here where we are.
Yeah, I better gotta get back to work.
Yes, we'll get back to work and watch for some additional videos and conversations with Jeff and Janet. Bye.
Bye-bye.